Hello, everybody, and welcome to Your Time to Thrive with health and wellness coach Jason Stevenson. Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, thank you. I'm trying to find the feed so that I can share it out. Um, so let's talk. What are we talking about today? What's on your mind? What is the thing that you want to get out there into the world and let people know more about?
Balance. Balance in your head, balance in your life, balance in your approach, and balance in your response. Because that's a lot, I know.
Yeah.
There's
So, okay. Um, all right. I have no balance in anything. That makes sense to me. So what is all right, so what's the most important thing? Why do we need balance? Why can't we just be out of whack?
well, because there already is balance in the universe. It is up to you to align yourself with that. And that has to do with your head. And like we've talked about recently, that conversation that you have with yourself, it comes from your actions, but most importantly, in my mind, it comes from perspective. So I got this quote this morning that I posted for my workout of the day, and it spoke to me because it's a consistent message that we always talk about. You know, we talk about balance in our fitness and balance in our food and balance in our daily habits. And like you joked about, I mean, seriously, we all know that it is something that we should strive for, that work play balance or that work sleep balance, but that some of the most fundamental principles of our universe, like the yin and the yang of our world, is based on all of that. So let me just read this quote real quick, because this is Muhammad Ali. Life's experiences can be challenging. Be patient and remind yourself that this is of assistance to develop strength, balance, and brilliance. Never give up. You will remember and find meaning to all of your experiences. So to me, that means that there are no bad, there are no good. It's like we talked about with our food. It's our perspective. You often hear people say that whether it's a result that they're looking for, I've done bad this week. I didn't lose any weight, or I did bad this week. I didn't do any workouts. It's not that this week is the only week that you're going to live. It's not that this day, this choice is the only choice that you have. Right? So, well, I'll agree with that. And that's thrive, not survive, right? Like, don't wait. What are you waiting for? Like, live it. But also realize that your perspective and the way that you respond to what has happened to you will create balance in the now, because that's really all that matters, right? It's now. Right now, actually just end it as soon as you are aware of it. So our goal is to be present and to be aware of the fact that it's not a good or a bad decision. It just is. Now, is it helping you? Is it hurting you? Is it putting you in the place where you want to be? Well, then change your choices going forward. But don't find yourself in that place where you're absolutely detrimental to your psychological moments and your presence with self-deprecation and defeatism. Understand that what you're going through right now, because that's what you're going through. How you choose to use it. Are you going to use it to make you stronger and better? Or are you going to use it to keep you in the same place that you didn't want to be a moment ago when you realized you were unhappy with it anyway?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think so I I I have a friend that always talks about balance as a pendulum.
Mm.
So like, when we're talking about something that people always talk about when they talk about balance is like work-life balance, right?
Yes.
Like, you need to devote a certain amount of time to your family, but you also need to devote a certain amount of time to your friendships and your work, and especially like family and work. Those are the two things that seem to be, or personal and professional,
There you go.
whatever that means for you. Those are the two things that seem to be pulling us apart at all times
Yes.
with our own time. And that the happy medium of like finding a routine where you always feel completely satisfied with the amount of attention that you are providing both things isn't real. Like
Correct.
that doesn't happen. Sometimes work is going to take up more of your time, and sometimes family is going to take up more of your time. And it's a pendulum, and you just want to try to get it as close to the middle as possible. So if, you know, there's if a big work project has taken you out of spending time with your family for longer than you'd like, then, try to bring focus into spending a little bit more time and creating time to be with the personal side of your life, and vice versa. If you've been there are things, obviously, sometimes like vacations and stuff, but other times like big events, moving, things that need to happen, deaths or illnesses, will take you away from things that you want to achieve professionally, and then you'll have to focus more on that. But it's a shifting balance the whole time. It's not something where we make a plan and we plan out our week and we're like, this is going to be perfect and it's going to stay that way forever.
Right. Because that's not reality. I agree wholeheartedly with that pendulum concept because it's real. That's authentic, to be understanding of that and to accept that. Because I feel like the challenge that we have in this life that we live is how we actually view it. Because you can't change circumstances as they occur. You can just change your choices around those circumstances and your response to those choices, which I find is, for me, the biggest piece.
Yeah,
Yeah. There you go, Becky. Thank you. Life is a balance for sure, and one of the biggest challenges.
I
And
agree.
love your honesty, Ben. And that's what we expect from you. We expect nothing less.
I've been lying to you the whole time. My name's not even Ben.
That's a lie.
Uh,
So for me, the big piece is, are we responding or are we reacting? Because the reaction is an emotional reaction. It puts us into a place where you're actually reactive in a child sense. It's not your higher self. It's not who you really are that truly reacts. The reaction is the one that's the instant. It's the automatic brain that responds immediately, and it becomes a reaction. Now, what you choose to do with that is a response. How you choose to align yourself from that moment forward is what you have control over. Because I love your example. If you find that, and this is common for a lot of people, that you have spent a lot of energy and time on your work, and because we have to pay bills and subsist in a society where that's part of life, and frankly, that gives people a lot of meaning and passion to follow that, which is good. But you have to be aware of that. How much of your energy are you spending on your work comparatively? Are you spending focused time and energy with the ones that you care about? And where do you spend that time? Is it with your family and friends, or is it thinking about your family and friends, staying in touch with them? What is our real opportunities for perspective coming from? Is it from a response or is it from a reaction? Are you choosing this or are you allowing it to happen?
yeah. I think that like little shifts, we make a bigger deal about little shifts than we need to create balance. And something that just occurred to me while you were talking is the ability that we have to sort of sit in something that is unbalanced or uncomfortable for uh for fear is a big version of it, but fear.
Yeah.
My example is, I had my air conditioning on last night, and I had it on most of the morning while I was working in here, and I was cold. So I put on a hoodie and I made tea. And now, as we're talking, and I'm drinking this scalding hot tea, I'm like, I'm too hot. I'm too hot. Like now I'm getting like I'm looking and my face is red and I'm like, well, I committed to having this sweatshirt on and I'm on camera. live. I'm not even on camera where I can edit it later. I'm on camera live. So what am I going to do right now? Like, am I going to just sit here in this sweatshirt while being now extremely hot because the air conditioner is off? It's not terribly cold outside. It's like
No,
almost 70.
yeah, it's
The
nice out.
Yeah, I'm drinking this tea and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna take the sweatshirt off. It's gonna look silly to do that in the middle, but like that's, you know what I mean? And those
Yeah,
are the types of things that we think we're like, and that's a very small scale, but those are the types of things that we think as far as balance goes, like, oh, I can't take a day off
mm,
because I need to spend more time with my kids, and like there's an opportunity for this, or I can't say no to this opportunity, or I can't, have the conversation with my significant other that like, I'm so sorry, but for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be a little crazy because I really need to get this done. Like we, in whatever way it is, or even like, I can't go to the gym because I'm tired from this other thing. Like the balances that a lot of it is fear based and
oh yeah.
letting ourselves stay unbalanced because in whatever direction, because there's something small stopping us from just doing it.
There's a phrase that I'm going to mess up, so I'll paraphrase it. Uh, Minor discomfort is the greatest inhibitor. Uh, Basically, it means that if
Oh
you're
wow, I've never heard that.
really, so the idea is that if you're just a little uncomfortable, like if you weren't, I mean, you could have just sat there in that sweatshirt because you're worried about how it looks, right? So the
Yeah.
fear of that and the concern for that is because you're minorly uncomfortable. Now, if somebody had a heat lamp on you and we were continuously putting hot water in your mouth and you were just constantly drinking the hot water and you were sweating, you'd be really uncomfortable. You'd be real quick to change that,
Hmm.
right? So, for me, this pertains to a lot of people's lifestyles. If you don't think about your natural food sources and where you're getting your food from, and you're eating a lot of franken food or a lot of processed foods, your body has an underlying level of inflammation where your systems are pretty uncomfortable, relatively speaking. And you know what I mean by this, because when you went through that whole vegetarian thing, it changed the way that you thought about the way you ate, because you recognized, hey, when I eat A, I feel like crap. But if you continuously eat A, if like whatever that is, if it's a dairy or if it's a meat or it's a processed food or it's fast food or soda, the things that people have as their natural, like they get up and go get a coffee and they put an artificial sweetener in it. Well, your body automatically doesn't like that because it's artificial and it doesn't like processing it, and it messes with your system. So if that's the case and it's at a low level of inflammation and a low level of discomfort, it's really not something that you would change. But if every time you drank that cup of coffee, you literally projectile vomit it, you'd probably stop drinking that coffee, right? So our adaptive systems and our psyche responds to minor changes like that, and brings us that perfect example of the slow boil of the frog. It's the same idea, is that you won't change anything. Most people won't. It's a natural response. If something is only a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit awkward. So the question for me is always, why does it take more than that? Where is our awareness? Where is your balance as far as your perspective in your life, in the things that are really not helping you and are really not good for you, but they're just minorly discomfort? They're just minorly off. If I slept in a little bit and I only worked out for 20 minutes today instead of an hour, I could have done better, but no big deal. As opposed to, I know what my goals are. I know what my long terms are. Remember, the perspective is that long term game plan, right? The
Hmm.
goal is to find that pendulum over the long term, understanding that this sucks a little bit. I got to work a lot, and then I swing back and I get to take time off and I get to spend time with people that I care about. But the long term of that is the balance is the back and the forth. So what are you allowing to get in your way because it's only a little bit off your balance? Right? Like, what are we doing on a daily basis that's just taking us a little bit off? Like minor dehydration, not that big of a deal. big dehydration, like if you're really dehydrated, your organs start shutting down. Your brain doesn't work. You can literally, your heart can have major ramifications from low hydration levels. But if you just drink some water, I get hydrated from my coffee, I get hydrated from my soda, well, then you're not going to realize those ramifications on the short term. It will for the long game. You're going to have long-term problems. So the all the stuff that we've talked about, which is the simple approach to your food and the simple approach to your sourcing and your habits, what is it helping you do? Is it in line with your goals in a way that it helps you and it doesn't pull you? Because we need to pay attention to those little ones. Because the big ones we do notice, right? I didn't work out for a month. I noticed that. I didn't eat right for 2 weeks straight, McDonald's every day. You'll notice that.
You will notice it eventually, right? But the day you might not notice it. So, and that's the thing. If you're not, and this is the pendulum thing, right? You have to notice that you're over to the side. You have to be conscious of the fact that you are to one side or the other with this balance thing. Because if you're not conscious of it, it's going to take a big act. It's going to take,
yes.
I had a friend once who realized that he hadn't eaten any vegetables that weren't lettuce from like a grinder in about 2 months. He couldn't remember the last time he ate a vegetable that wasn't iceberg lettuce.
What brought the awareness?
I don't know. But the and there have probably been times around that same time period where similar things were true for me. But it was like, those are things that you don't notice because you're like going to work and you're like, cool, I'll grab like Subway for lunch or whatever. And you just happen to, you're like, oh, well, this is how I get this sandwich. Or like, oh, I'm really busy today. I have a bunch of errands to run. The kids all have soccer games and whatever it is. So we'll just all stop at McDonald's for the day. And then the next day is crazy. And then the next day is crazy. And then, all of a sudden you're like, what happened to my life? And that's just crazy. So number one, Megan says something important to remember is that your life balance is different than someone else's balance. We all prioritize differently and value different things. Have to balance what you want out of life, both small and big. Thank you, Megan.
Yes. That's why I'm careful to make strong recommendations based on my own perspective and my own choices. My people always know that when they ask me questions, I ask them how it relates to them. What would you do? Or what's your favorite food? Or what's your favorite thing for breakfast? Well, how do you love to do your cardio? It's not my choices. I'm here to help guide and support as a coach, as somebody that says, hey, look, you did a good job out there. What do you think you could have done better? This is your choices to make a better choice for your life and to make a better choice for your balance.
Would you say that it's almost impossible to live a balanced life, not even live a balanced life? That's too broad of a statement. To have balance, do you feel like it's almost impossible to do that unconsciously?
Unconsciously?
Yeah.
Yes. Because I believe that most people have too much of their child self guiding their choices because they're reactive unconsciously. Yeah, we all do. I'm easily humble enough to acknowledge that completely with you, sir, that we all do. That is the balance, though, because your child self allows you to play and have fun and laugh at life and enjoy frivolous things and not worry about if anybody's watching while you dance. That's not a bad thing to have in your perspective and in your life. You need to laugh, and your child is your laugh. But if you are allowing your child to make all of the decisions, it's like if you've ever encountered somebody whose child is 5 years old and they say, what do you want for dinner? What do you think that child is going to choose? Do you think they're going to say, well, mommy, I should have a big fat salad because I didn't eat any vegetables all day today? What 5-year-old is going to say that to you? But that's normal because of their experiences. You have to remember that we have life experiences to weigh through that balance and be understanding of that. Understand that, yeah, sometimes you can go have ice cream for dessert, but we don't do that every time, you know?
I'm listening to a 5-year-old stomp his feet above me right now, and I'm assuming either it's something to do with distance learning or he's saying that he wants mac and cheese for lunch. Um,
See?
so uh, I realized the other day that I was uh unconsciously for the most part having the same conversation with someone for like 5 months straight, and uh it was because I never um took a step back to get perspective and continued to have the same conversation. I like when you don't think about where you are in the pendulum, like I said, when you don't think about what you've been doing constantly or like what your days have been like, it's very easy to fall into patterns of not going to the gym, or whatever that may be for you, not, treating yourself well, not treating others really great, allowing other people to not treat you great,
Mm,
uh, not taking care of yourself, not drinking enough water, not eating enough vegetables or whatever. Like if you just sort of exist from day to day, it's very easy to be completely unbalanced. And I just want to point out something that Peg said, which is keeping a simple journal helps keep you centered. I couldn't agree
oh,
with this more.
yes.
I couldn't agree with that more. It's very hard to remember what a day was like last week. You remember the big things. You remember the
Yeah.
big things, but it is extremely hard it is so easy to have the same conversation with somebody 100 times in 100 days if you aren't thinking about what today was like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. A- And that's the same scenario with yourself. That's that same scenario because let's be frank, no matter who you are and what you do, you talk to yourself more than you talk to anybody else. Whether it's while you're brushing your teeth and you're just planning your day, or it's as you're shutting down and you're evaluating your day, or you're driving. We've all ended up somewhere and thought, wow, I don't remember driving here because I was someplace in my head the whole time. Those conversations, it's so important to be conscious of that. And that journaling, that self awareness, whether it's like we talked about last week, where it's just an attitude of gratitude journal, because you're going to see what you wrote yesterday. You're going to see what you wrote last week. But reflection journals are, I'm sure that's what my mom's saying there, much more self aware, self awareness based, that we're actually being retrospective about our day or we're being reflective about our day. Because when you have another person in the conversation, that other person can help take it in different directions, or they can help guide you or help balance you or help bring you back to center. But we need that checks and balances on our own, in our own heads. How often are you beating yourself up or how often are you supporting yourself? It's kind of where this came from today because I had to check somebody yesterday who has succeeded substantially in their workouts. I mean, made phenomenal results and progress and all kinds of different barometers. But they're very frustrated because they're looking for a specific marker in their weight loss. They haven't hit it yet. And it's frustrating. And I understand that. But we have to be conscious of what we have achieved and where our successes are and celebrate them. It's great to be balance aware and say, look, this is what I want, and I'm going to keep going in that direction. And I'm still not satisfied because I have a goal. And you need those goals. It's good, short term, long terms. But are you literally avoiding the opportunity to celebrate what you have done well? I mean, we joked about it last week. If you're not eating wallpaper and crawling up and down the walls in your home right now with your hair past your shoulders during this whole shutdown thing that's gone on all over the world, you've succeeded. Like if you haven't gone crazy, you have succeeded in surviving through this. But the goal is not to just survive. The worst case scenario in my mind is to have lived a life that you can look back on and go, well, I made it through that. Is that really how you want to finish? Is that really how you want to live your life? Then what is your perspective? Are you choosing to be grateful for things? Are you choosing to have good experiences? Are you taking that time to do things that really make you feel alive? Then you're thriving. Then you're actually living the life that you deserve. And sometimes the reality is you're not going to be able to go spend a lot of money. We're pinching pennies, or you can't go see somebody that you really care about. We're lockdowns and distance, whatever it is, but you can still celebrate everything. You just might have to change it a little bit. You might have to just sit at home and say, you know what? I'm really grateful that I have a home. I'm really grateful that I have this time to be grateful. That it's the whole conversation, like we talked last week, was that, the perspective piece. You have a glass, it's half full or half empty. And we could argue all day long about perspective, but I've always said, be glad that you have a glass to literally argue over and that there's something in it. It could be Pappy Van Winkle freaking amazing bourbon, or it could just be some water that you pulled out of the tap. But you have something to drink. You have a glass to put it in. You have something to be grateful for, and you have something more to make you happy.
Yeah.
Celebrate that stuff.
Yep. I think that what we've sort of uncovered today is that the number one key to balance is paying attention.
Yes.
Yes. Paying attention. And I think that we've talked about this several times in the last few weeks, but it's been 6 months now of a pandemic. And
we're not done, folks. I know you're pissed, frustrated, and tired of all this shit, but we're not done.
It's been 6 months of a pandemic, and you 6 months ago, when we all got locked in our houses, said to yourselves either, and if you're watching the show, it was probably the first one, either I'm going to use this time to better myself, to read, to learn something, to work on myself, to work on my body, whatever it is, get in better shape, or the second one, which probably not, if you're like, I'm going to take this time to or like you were just in fear, but the chances are you wanted to do something better for yourself with that time. And now that it's been 6 months, everybody can look back and go, what did I do? What did I do? Did I do anything for myself? Did I go for that walk? Did I learn? Is all I did learn how to make sourdough bread? And and was that all I wanted to do? Great. But like, whatever it was that happened 6 months ago, it's a wonderful marker for all of us, because we very few times in our lives all have a marker that is so clear and evident to everyone around us. And so, like, what do you do now? You have to look at the past 6 months and go, the things that improved were the things that I was conscious of and did little things to every day. The things that didn't improve, that I intended on, it's been 6 months and I didn't do anything on behalf of that. And in 6 months from now, which is what we said 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, in 6 months from now, you could be wherever it is that you want to be if you bring consciousness to it, because that is the way to find that balance. And I think that's beautiful, Jason. So thank you for that.
It was a great summation, man. I agree wholeheartedly.
Megan says, as someone who always struggles with balance, I also think it's important to not judge others for what they believe is their balance and what they prioritize too. Yes, a lot of times with societal pressures, we are told we are wrong or right in regards to our balancing act. Thank you, Megan.
Yes, which is the subjective side of all of this, right? Your balance is your balance. Your goals are your goals. That's why I'm careful about the cookie cutter programs and recommendations to people, because you have to find what works for your body, what works for your head, what works for your lifestyle, what works for your place in life, Ben, I agree with it, man. I love it, buddy.
I love it too.
It's the whole point.
Yeah, and don't judge others for their balance. Some people like to work more. Some people don't want to work and want to be with their kids and their families, and whatever that may be. Like some people are really into their health and wellness, and other people literally couldn't give a crap about it.
Which
Let
is
other
fine.
people,
But have the
if you love someone
conversation.
and you want to have a conversation. Exactly.
Yeah, have the conversations. I think that's something that needs to happen. That's what I love about this stuff with you, man. You need to have conversations with people that agree with you and disagree with you. That balance those are our mirrors in life. The people that support you and the people that oppose you, that's okay. We can have differing opinions. That's what makes this an amazing country and an amazing world we live in, because we have 350 million people in this country, and every single one of them is trying to live their best life the best way that they can. And that might be just sitting at home watching Netflix and making sourdough. And that's great. Love it. But live it. Live the best you can. Don't just, oh, well, I guess I'll just watch this crap. Find the best Netflix you can. Make the best sourdough you can. Share it with people and talk to people, because somebody might have an amazing sourdough recipe you can borrow from them. You may not be a sourdough recipe guy. You may not even want to bake bread. But if you find out why somebody did that, you just learned something new about somebody that you didn't know. And that's about balance, baby.
I love this show. I love this show.
Well, I love you, man. I appreciate the opportunity. And we got training spelled wrong. Look at that. I'm looking.
Oh, no.
Look at that. How are they supposed to go to websites? They can't even spell it. It's all right, though. ThriveTrainingTeam.com. If you ever have any questions relating to your health and fitness, just shoot me a private message. We've got links to all the social media on there and links coming for all the podcasts that we've been shooting here, because we want to find ways to find it.
Absolutely. I'd also just love to say that it's in the description of the video, so you can just click on that link instead.
Right down there. You can click on that
instead of judging the fact that I misspelled it because I was trying to type quick because I forgot to put it up.
No judgments. I'm your mirror too. You call me out when I have stuff hanging from my nose. All right. Same thing.
I do.
You better.
All right. Thanks,
if
everybody.
I do a show with something in my teeth, I'm going to kick your butt.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Go out and live the best life you can.
For more information, tips, and workouts of the day, check out ThriveTrainingTeam.com.